Welcome to the Marketing Operations Panel 2.0. We want to talk about how advanced content and campaign capabilities drive commercial excellence and impact in our industry. The commercial model in the industry is really based on a legacy where individual brand teams were driving almost every aspect of the commercialization process. And maybe sales execution is an exception in that they've always had more of a centralized operational construct. But today, leading biopharmaceutical companies have strengthened their commercial operation and really elevate the ability for the entire organization, namely the brand teams, to engage their customers in a coordinated fashion across multiple channels with meaningful and personalized content and with increasing effectiveness and efficiency. And today I have the pleasure to discuss the learnings from successes and what's next on this journey and the greater vision for transformation of this commercial model. And I would like to welcome my esteemed panel of leaders in our industry, Dr. Michael Kerr, Global Head of Human Pharma Services, Jeff Heinz, Senior Director of Marketing Operations at Novo Nordisk. Hi, Jeff. And
Hi.
Brian Kingswell, VP of Digital Strategy and Product Operations at Bayer. Hi, Brian.
Thanks, Mark. Pleasure to be here.
Great seeing all of you. Fantastic. So let's jump right into this panel. And why don't we start off, Jeff, with a question to you. Brand teams have been reaching their customers, whether it's HCPs, patients, or consumers, or payers, for years now via email, web, media, even social. So other channels than Salesforce aren't necessarily new. Why would they need to advance their capabilities when they're already operating in this fashion?
Sure, Mark. Thanks for the question. Exactly as you said, we've traditionally in the industry worked on a POA cycle using multi-channel marketing to reach our customers that we've mapped journeys for different therapeutic areas for. And this has typically taken place on an annualized or even semi-annual cycle. But today, the way marketing technology has evolved, we have the opportunity to go from communicating with our customers through traditional advertising to really creating experiences for our customers at every step of that map journey. But when you do that, not only are you talking to the customers one way, but they're also talking back to you. So it's necessary for us to evolve in order to be able to respond to those customers quickly with what they need when they need it. And the only way to do that or to solve for that problem is really investing in technology and getting very good at listening as well as talking to our customers about what our therapeutic opportunities are, our therapeutic options are to help them.
Great. Brian, what role does commercial operations play on this journey toward this goal?
It's an interesting question, Mark, because the journey we've been on at Bayer, we've actually been moving to a new operating model. It's called dynamic shared ownership. As a part of that operating model, we've actually done away with the traditional construct of commercial operations. So to say what role does commercial operations play? Well, I'd say at Bayer, it doesn't play a role anymore because commercial operations, in the legacy pharma org structure mindset is gone. What we've replaced that with is really a new system of self-organized teams much closer to our customers' priorities and the priorities of our products. So we've kind of done away with your traditional franchise structure, your traditional centralized comm ops, and really kind of these siloed organizations that negotiate with each other for resources. Right? Because think about how much time our organizations waste in negotiating for resources and trading off with one another rather than just solving the needs of our customers or doing the right thing to move the business forward. So I'd say, what role does commercial operations play? Maybe not so much of a role, but if I take a different slant on that and say, how are we solving that problem at Bayer? We're really solving it by enabling our differentiated capabilities. And in my space, those are the capabilities of digital strategy, of media, of content, of campaigns. We're enabling those capabilities in an integrated way within our product teams. So we're working side by side with our product teams to take insights and turn it into what's the right customer engagement plan? How do we leverage digital channels more effectively? How do we tap into media, which is generally the largest marketing investments we're making from a product perspective? And then content and campaigns, making sure that we're harnessing the power of that for our product teams without the resource negotiations getting in the way. It's all one team, one set of objectives moving forward to deliver for our customers.
It's certainly a big shift to the way we typically see this operating industry. Michael, you're smiling a little bit. I don't know if you have a thought around this, but before I ask a question to you.
Well, it's interesting. Maybe we can compare a little bit the journey that Boehringer was taking the last couple of years with where Roche's Bayer is now heading with the new CEO. I guess there are no big surprises. He has done something similar in Roche before, but it would be really interesting to double click into this. No, it would be cool.
Well, we'll do that. Michael, for now, I want to follow up on what Brian mentioned, because you have built very successfully these capabilities and actually at global scale for your organization. What are some of the learnings you can share from that journey and your experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do so, Mark. And first of all, thank you for the invite to this esteemed panel. I guess it's the third year in a row where I'm privileged enough to participate and hopefully to contribute. So it's my pleasure. So to answer your question, I would take a step back and look very top line on the journey that we were on over the last 5 years now, being at full scale probably since 3.5 years, which is pretty quick. Yeah. And the beginnings were rather humble, and you guys know this. You have built it together with us, where we decoupled the integrated content value chain into the creative part and the production part. Yeah, and this kind of setup and operating model was not available back the days in Boehringer. And I think what was important that we really started small and in a very controlled way. First, figuring out who are our volunteering geographies and some of the pioneering minds in the company who were willing to embark on such a journey. And then really we look deep into traditional workshop stuff, yeah, step by step, defining the process, making sure the RACI is clarified, making sure that the technology can facilitate what we try to achieve, and so on and so forth. And it took us a while, yeah, and we took it step by step in baby steps, but once we were comfortable with the overall setup, we scaled really rapidly. So it took us probably 2 years where we were doing the entire global digital production at scale. And when I say at scale, we are actually supporting all the markets worldwide. Yeah? The scope is the code that you need to deploy the digital asset through your system. Yeah, it's more of a traditional approach, I would say, but we run this now very efficiently at quality and at speed. What that did was that we secured top-down sponsorship, and trust was building up. So we gained the right to play to broaden our scope in further areas. And the next thing that we were building and are still building is an upstream integration, which we call Creative Factory. Yeah? So we are focusing on all the below the line activities in the creative space. This is how we call that, to really make sure that whatever is there in terms of content and assets is getting utilized the best way possible and in the most efficient way possible. So really to drive reutilization and scalability of content. What this also does is that we have much faster time to market at better quality, because we eliminate what you can certainly appreciate is a pretty tricky interface between your globally centralized model, which is offshore, and all these local decentral creative agency support activities. Yeah? And the third thing I would like to say here is that there's now an expectation building up in the company that we should deploy this model in a more systematic way, starting with corporate core content, to really make sure that we proactively take this core content and localize it for all the markets and geographies. Yep. And this is something we are working on. We are, so far as a service organization, pretty much in a reactive mode, but there's an expectation that we are doing this more proactively. In parallel, we have built our only captive center in Boehringer that we are operating out of Europe, where we have created all these typical commercial operations and digital marketing operation services, but also global medical affairs services that we are doing And we have scaled this captive center from starting when I joined Boehringer, probably 20 people, to a large scale operation that is supporting also the entire world. Now comes an interesting piece here. As we were sitting with the team together, we realized how comprehensive our operating, our offering is by now. Yeah? But we have developed it in a rather standalone way, service by service by service by service. Yeah? But now, looking at what we have, we realize that the ingredients are all in place to connect everything into the ability to facilitate an omni-channel responsive customer journey, including campaigning and everything, but we are actually not doing it. So this is how we came up now with what we call the One HPS strategy. And together with my team, we are working on what this actually means now moving forward. Conceptually, it's straightforward, right? It's easy. You just connect the dots and you make the business enjoy a fully entertained campaign that you are putting together. But if you're scaled service by service, connecting suddenly everything is quite a complex journey. So we are exploring new roles that we may need, like a customer experience coordinator. This is the working title for now. And we are also working on integrating activities that are still externalized, like, for example, translation work in the localization work that we are not covering yet. And we are trying to put this into our existing large-scale model and try to make this a seamless experience now. Yeah? And what will also be important, this role that I just described, that this role is working with the business, fully understand the requirement, making sure that all the assets are tagged, are measured, are reported back, and to enable true learning. And if you allow, I would like to make one more comment on learning. What we also realize that it's not so easy to maintain the full visibility over the end-to-end content value chain, right? From corporate initiation to the regional localization to the market localization and deployment. Once you lose this visibility, you cannot learn anymore, right? Because you can never tie back what happened in the market to what was originated in corporate. So it's really important to keep complete control of this journey, which is something pretty challenging, but we are working on, even if control is probably a negative word, but we are really working on getting the full control of the entire journey. And maybe Brian, in this autonomous small teams, that's naturally given. We are operating it now in the large scale setup.
It's quite some development. So when you say control, you really mean having full visibility, right? And being able to trace content as data along the value chain.
Yeah, and it actually means also to do all the activities required along the journey, because what you regularly see happening is once a system is probably misused, you download, instead make a copy and funny things like that. The process is broken and you cannot connect the dots anymore. Yeah. So we are actively working also for certain corporate core content to eliminate the self-service part again.
Very interesting. I know, Brian, that you are looking into, or you are working also with the strategy. This role that Michael described certainly plays a role in your organization as well, right? Connecting the strategy to the operations.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of the key roles that brings the model to life, because it's the role that's fully integrated within our product teams and really defining how do we translate a product strategy into a customer engagement strategy, into a full funnel type of marketing plan that's going to leverage digital channels effectively. And then they're also the bridge that connects in all the differentiated capabilities that exist, right? So we have a fully in-house media planning and buying organization that gets plugged in via the digital strategy role. The digital strategist is also a media planner. That's part of their responsibilities. And they sit as a dedicated member of any product team. And so I think that's a different model from the kind of the centralized commercial operations where you need to basically treat the product or the brand team like an external client, if you will. Like that, we've kind of done away with that. So we don't need those additional handoff silos. What we just need is the great people on the product side and the great people on the digital team working hand in hand, integrated with the same incentives, working on the same things. And so I'm curious to hear, a little bit more about Michael's model, because it sounds like they've enabled really end-to-end transparency when it comes to content creation and content execution and content measurement and optimization. I guess I would wonder, has that come at the expense of speed, or has actually speed improved as a result of really controlling and optimizing that end-to-end process? I think what we found is moving to this more self-organized model, speed has dramatically improved. And what has maybe changed is by not having a centralized function, there's no one top down saying you have to use this capability that's been enabled, or you have to follow this process. Instead, it puts the incentive on my team, who are several capability leaders, to earn it. We have to earn the usage of our capabilities, and we earn it by being incredibly differentiated, by being fast, by being cost efficient, and by having those great integrated partnerships aligned with the brand strategy on the product teams.
And Brian, I'm very happy to get back to you on the speed to market question. But before I'm getting there, may I ask one question? Because I find this very intriguing, what you have built there. I'm wondering about scalability, because the reason why we are doing it like we are doing it is we want to have the global strategy, which is owned by the corporate TAs. We want to have that implemented in tech as much as possible in all the markets worldwide, which means claims are coming in shape, in the right format, all the asset integrity is in place, the metadata is traveling, and so on. I'm wondering how you're enabling this, or are you following a complete different approach globally?
Yeah, we have some of the same aspirations, right? We certainly want to make sure that our content is appropriately tagged, tracked, linked, referenced, all of those key kind of foundational components. I would just argue maybe that tackling that from a global perspective and then ensuring consistency out to the markets, you end up running into a lot of hurdles, because the claims we can make about our products are actually different market to market, and the metadata structures therefore need to be different. And even if you look at the team I lead in the U.S., and we're focused on enabling our U.S. product teams in the U.S., a significant portion of our marketing mix is direct to consumer, which is not as relevant outside of the US. And so there are messages, there's content, there's just a whole scale of things that we need to do that doesn't benefit from just taking a globally dictated structure and pulling it through in our local market. Instead, we say we need to go deliver for our US customers, and then we kind of work our way back to how can we do that more effectively. And part of doing it more effectively is putting those foundational pieces in place around tracking, tagging, linking, referencing, and having kind of those consistent data structures and approaches from a US perspective. And we also find, I think more often than not, that the type of innovation we're driving in the US market on these areas is globally applicable. And we've got colleagues at the global level or in other regions who are looking at what we're doing in the US and saying, oh, we could probably learn from that and borrow from that. And it helps them accelerate their efforts.
I venture to say that push and pull between global consistency and scale and local dynamic agility depends a little bit on where your organization is and what their needs are, kind of from a business perspective as well, right? And where you need to change and what you need to focus on. I venture to say there might also be a cycle where you continue to standardize and then continue to get more locally agile again, and then move into a cycle where you standardize and then improve over time. So very interesting. I think we have a whole other panel here on that topic, which I can would be happy to run with you, gentlemen. Jeff, talking about organization in different stages. Obviously, Novo Nordisk, a highly admired company with tremendous growth rates, and one of the challenges for your organization as you continue to grow, and especially in the US, is obviously the MLR process, the medical legal review process. In its traditional form, it can slow things down quite a bit. What opportunities do you see in creating an industry-leading MLR process that can serve not just as helping to solve the bottleneck, but be actually an engine of transformation for the organization overall?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Mark. And first, let me just say that if you see me smiling, it's because so much of what Michael and Brian have been sharing really does resonate with me. And it's amazing how similar the experiences are, no matter where you sit and with which organization. So, but yeah, no, MLR is certainly a very important function, right? And it's not a nice to have, it's a must have, right? Just as we put safety first in the products that we market, and I have a high regard for the other organizations represented here. And it's not a question of if or, but this and. So just as we want to make sure all of our products are safe as well as effective, we also want to make sure that everything we're doing is regulatory compliant. And as you said, in the past, whether it was true or not true, at least the MLR process is often perceived as a bottleneck within that go-to-market approach, right? So one of the things that we are doing at Novo, in addition to really optimizing our process and measuring it at literally every step of the way, we refine our process. We look at appropriately tiering review to content type. We've gone to offshore support, but now we're really doubling down on technology. As the technology has become more sophisticated and just quite frankly better, the longer I've been in the industry, we're really doubling down on that and using software, AI and non-AI to do much of the heavy lifting around content review, which allows our team members to really focus on context and creating those great customer experiences for folks. So as the software gets better at doing the content, what you see is that burden's taken off of team members. And so they can really respond quickly and actively and intentionally to our customers and their customer needs. And in that regard, I think it's probably a little bit more similar to what Brian is discussing, so that if a customer expresses a need for something for one of our products, then we're quickly adapting what we do to serve that need, rather than having a top-down approach saying, we think this is best for the customer, therefore this is what our response will be. And then we're using data, and this is what I share with both Michael and Brian. It's getting the taxonomy and the tagging right is yielding an unprecedented amount of data that we can now use to really optimize, so that in one section of the market, what we do for a patient may be different from what we do in another geography, and what we do for one provider in one section of the country may be different based on their needs and the way they practice from another. But really tailoring what we do to best meet the needs and expectations of those customers as quickly as possible. And then the last point I'll make is that we've largely gone to a team approach as well. And you could think what the software industry did 20 years ago with agile squads, stand-up meetings, and pods. We're very much adapting that mindset to our approach. So it's no longer, is it the brand team, is it an operations function, or is it even the MLR reviewers? It's one agile squad trying to bring these experience to solve customer challenges and make sure that folks are comfortable and confident getting to that next dose, getting to that next fill, and then putting their trust in the products that we market to help them live happier lives.
And it's certainly big progress. Has it had an impact on speed dramatically, Jeff?
Yeah, so what we've seen, and the good news is that as we've been optimizing over time, we are very quick to market based on the industry standards. So as we put these new technologies in place through proofs of concept, what we have seen is that within individual phases, let's say there are 80 steps from ideation all the way through to content destruction at the end of a campaign's life cycle. In the individual phases, we've seen significant acceleration in the ability to review. Something like proofreading, using machine-assisted proofreading, gets us to nearly 50% improvement within that cycle. Now, we connected all the dots through the supply chain to then realize significant improvement. Not yet today, but we think that these steps will be additive. And over time, as you begin to link the ability to integrate the software reviews with what the human beings are doing, it will yield benefits going forward.
Great. So, Michael, how does the review process play a role from a global perspective? Because in the US, obviously, it's contained within a country. Does that play a role in your global organization? Sorry, put you on the spot. I just thought about this question while I listened to Jeff.
No, yeah, that's fair, Mark. We are actually exploring opportunities to put some global services around the content approval process, which I think is really needed. It's a must-have, as Jeff rightly mentioned. And we are focusing very much on front-loading this approval process to make sure that whatever arrives in the market is kind of pre-approved or almost auto-approved by tech or by people who are looking at it. We are playing around with technology also, but we are also working on establishing manual services, and there will always be a human in the loop, and we're exploring how to best to establish this. But I guess also with modular content coming our way, Gen AI even more so, I guess even if the approval process might not be a bottleneck today, it will be in future, yeah, because the sheer amount of more custom content that we as pharma organization want to get out there, this cannot be approved in the traditional way, yeah. So we have to explore, and our philosophy is we explore tech-based options and globally centralized options, and we make sure that the quality that arrives in the markets is just better than traditionally, so that the approval process is quicker, more convenient, and easier. This is our approach. And what keeps me really also up at night, and I want to build on what Jeff just said, talking about agile. This is not a new concept, yeah, but I really believe agile will become very, very big, even bigger than it was in the past, because learning will become so essential for corporate organizations. The tech is moving so fast. I'm wondering how on earth we as a corporate organization can keep track of that. And I believe agile is at least one part of the equation, and we need to make sure that we have a model in place that is able to experiment at scale. This is really critical moving forward, because otherwise we are always late with anything that is available tech-wise. Yeah? But having said that, I don't see contradiction to the global model. I just want to make that bridge here, because this experimenting at scale will make sure that we understand things that can then scale into a business as usual setup, which is not the same thing. Yeah, scalability for us in Boehringer is still a big, big topic, and we are focusing very much on this.
Thank you, Michael. Brian, if you take all these different capabilities and inputs together, can you imagine a world where you get a simple input from the brand, like I want to drive sales with customer X if they show interest in prescribing, and have all the components for ready-to-use campaign to act really quickly, rather than it becoming this lengthy, months-long ideation and execution process? Do you see that being a possibility, a reality, bringing content campaign together in that way?
Yeah, I think we're already seeing it. We're already bringing some examples to life in that space. And I would even say it's not necessarily even a request or an insight from the brand team so much as it's something that comes directly from the customer or the data and insights we can generate about our customers. So, for an example, we kind of have this, approach for one of our products where we've got a really strong machine learning model that essentially predicts, whether someone's likely to prescribe our product in a certain time frame. And based on that insight, we take that and we use that insight to lead into a full integrated omni-channel approach, right? So we're sending the sales team an alert that says, it's important to get in front of this customer within this time frame and reinforce some of our key messages. We're also increasing the frequency of our media exposure to that particular HCP or set of HCPs, because we control all of that. Like, all the pipes are built in-house to be able to take that insight in our data ecosystem and put it straight into our media ecosystem, right? There's no having to download an Excel file and email it to an agency and say, hey, the target list has changed, right? It's all integrated and automated within our data and media ecosystem. And then we also feed that into other channels as well. Our email platform, we enter people into email streams, assuming we've got appropriate consent and the like. And so it's really a full integrated omni-channel approach. And actually, if I come back to the operating model we've stood up to kind of did away with some of these traditional siloed org structures, the talent element here has really been a huge, let's say, force multiplier in terms of the impact we've been able to have. So, for example, I had a member of my team who worked on that particular program for one of our products. We then had one of our other products have a need or an interest in going in that direction with that type of an approach based on one of their machine learning models and some kind of new customer engagement approaches coming to life for that product. And we said, in the old world, it would have been really hard to take the talent on our team who worked on the one brand's project and bring them over to work on the other brand's project. It would have taken weeks of going through HR processes, rewriting job descriptions, getting a short-term assignment approved, blah, blah, blah. Here it was, in our new model, it was, no, this is the right thing to do. We can be just realistic about how we can reallocate responsibilities and pragmatic about how we go about tackling this. And within 2 days, it was 2 conversations, 2 days, we had that particular individual on the team working on the other product as a core member, bringing all the insights of how we stood up that integrated omnichannel program and getting it live for that other product, in a similar way within a few weeks. And so the speed benefit of both the talent agility, because we already had kind of the foundational pipes built from a data and insight through to the full omnichannel ecosystem was just really powerful.
I think, you're mentioning the human element in all of this as we get excited about technology and AI. It's I think, one of the more critical aspects in all of this transformational journey. Right? Not just having people change and adapt, but actually leveraging people's expertise and multiplying it, as you say, across the organization. That's really powerful.
And the best part was that person liked their job more. They were so excited. Oh my goodness, I can work on this other product. I can bring this expertise to life. It was the happiest I'd seen them in a couple of years working on that initiative. And that's continued across the organization as we've applied this new model.
Jeff, you're nodding to that.
Yeah. No, I'll just echo what Brian has said. And not with a specific individual, but I've seen teams become more excited as we've adapted these new ways of working, and just the level of collaboration and real-time exchange of information that may have been siloed in the past. But it does seem to be making people both faster and more productive, but also enjoy what they're doing more and realizing sort of the impact they're having for patients and for practitioners through the, what we traditionally labeled the marketing services supply chain.
Very good. Thank you. Michael, if we now turn our gaze a little bit more into the future, and if you can predict, and predictions are typically very hard, especially about the future, as famous Yogi Berra said. But where do you see this going, and what does a next level capability look like from your perspective?
So from my perspective, I see broadly 2 phases. One that we are very actively working on already, and one that is probably a little bit more forward-looking. The one that we are more or less implementing as we speak is we create kind of content toolboxes, which are very much based on a modular approach. And talking about speed to market, the way we are addressing the time to market of localized content, now being in this journey for more than 4 years, 5 years, we have done so much of localization work. We kind of understood what localization means in each of the geographies. And as Pareto always suggests, 80% will be the same over and over again. So we can front load this entire process, and we can make sure that markets are focusing on the remaining 20% because they get a readily built 80% content toolbox into their shop, and then they go and work on the remaining 20%. So talking about content toolbox, what we mean by that is that we have all these different modules with claims, with key visuals, with table listings, figures, with also local legal requirements that you modularize and that you can then plug and play into your assets. And this is what I mean. We can prepare all that on our many years experience now. And we are actually in the process also to formalize this knowledge to make, again, this also scalable and move this into a business as usual setup. And we get this localization more or less done very early in the process. So that's one approach. But admittedly, this is very much on the back of still our traditional way how we think about this. When I now think about Gen AI, I believe there will be some significant changes coming our way. And at some point in time, there will be Gen AI created content that feels fresh, that looks fresh, and perceptuous reality, the perception will be fresh on the receiving end, and that's fine. What I really believe is that the future of competitive advantage will be proprietary, very sophisticated large language models that are fully trained on your company. There is no generic approach to that, because also culture is formalized in how you do things and so on. What are your brand guidelines? What are your regulations in detail next to the legal implications, all of that, And I really believe that the earlier we start now really training these models in our environment on the back of our proprietary data, on our proprietary knowledge, the more powerful these models will become, and that will become a true source of competitive advantage. And this is even more true for more maturing brands where you have more and more data. And also coming back to a discussion we had recently, Mark, at some point in time, we have this proprietary model, and then you just ask, like you do with ChatGPT, I want to address this segment. I want to address this persona with this kind of treatment in this context, And you get 3 to 5 alternative options, and the human in the loop will refine, will check what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and the model will continuously learn. I know this is very much forward-looking, but I believe the technology is all there. We all have seen it, in a pilot setup, in a project setup. But I don't think we are yet ready to have it in a business-as-usual setup, because it will take a couple of years to have these models fully trained on your context and environment.
Yep.
I lost you for a second. You're back.
Yeah, I heard it as well.
Just me or okay, little glitch. So we'll see. This is real. Thank you.
My comment, until
we got the point, especially. So basically, you're developing and letting the technology work alongside with your advancing capabilities and learn from them. So then it's prime time for the technology to really then work in a more sophisticated way than it would be if you start off the shelf. Because it's basically shadowing your capabilities and your operations. As you very interesting.
Train the model as you evolve continuously. Absolutely, this is what needs to happen, I guess.
So, Brian and Jeff, what do you think the technology ecosystem that we have today, that we need to add? How ready is it for that future to come sooner rather than later?
So, I mean, I was really interested in Michael's perspective here, because it resonates with me. If I think about some of the strategic decisions we've made to build in-house capabilities, right, rather than work with an external partner or an agency or the like, we made those decisions because we felt we were bringing something strategically differentiated to the table. We felt like we could do this in a way that, because we know the business better, we have the data in-house, we can generate proprietary insights, we can then be more efficient and be more effective in the way that we execute that capability. And Michael, what you were saying about having the AI capabilities trained on your company, on your data, right, and really be able to be differentiated to you and your company and your customers in a way that today I don't think really exists. That actually is a really exciting idea. Really resonates with me, because I can see the parallels to other places where we've made similar strategic decisions. Today, I think what you have is an opportunity to partner with the same organizations, technology providers, et cetera, that everyone else can partner with. So there isn't necessarily competitive advantage in and of the solution you're getting. There's just the fact that you could partner with somebody sooner and put it to use on a valuable use case for you, and therefore gain competitive advantage because you're doing something that your competitors aren't. But there's no barrier to your competitors doing the same thing, right? So that, I think, is the interesting challenge today. I think that we are absolutely ready to embark, or many have already embarked on this journey, because we see it across other industries as well as our own, that there are a number of players and tools and capabilities available for us to start to tap into. I think what still remains to be seen, especially in the commercial space, is an organization unlocking this at scale and really delivering, you know, full end-to-end value across the commercial life cycle, right? Applying these tools and capabilities, you know, in all of these different areas against all these different use cases. I think we're still very much in let's pilot, let's see what has value. And I think over the next 2 years, we'll see those pilots really start to turn into value at scale. And then I hope shortly thereafter, we get to the world that Michael's describing, where we have true competitive differentiation enabled because we have capabilities that understand our businesses soup to nuts and are something that, you know, frankly, no one else can create the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, building on what Brian and Michael said, I would, but turning it back to the evolution of the technology and where it's going, I see the phase that we're in today with modular content and digital content really dominating what we're delivering, both in our field force and in our non-personal promotion to our customers. This is the necessary foundational step, right? So getting the taxonomy and tagging and modular content right will enable an environment where in the future you could use generative AI to then deploy updated messaging very quickly for your customers. But to try to jump to that, we're just going to use AI to generate content without the necessary infrastructure to be fast doesn't really get you any further faster, right? And, you know, just kind of thinking about it, today it would be a very costly way to generate messaging or to understand some A/B testing that a copywriter at one of our traditional agencies could do much more quickly and efficiently, right? So it would be a very expensive solution without the necessary infrastructure set up right. But once you have that infrastructure set up right, the kind of innovative solutions you can build on top of it, really, I don't know today what those innovative solutions might be, but I do know that we'll be more efficient. And it's largely, you know, this has been a journey where 10 years ago, all of our technology was on rack space and housed at a Novo facility or at a big server farm, right? And now it's all cloud-based, and we have free flow of information between our both our supplier partners, our offshore support functions and capabilities, and our in-house employees at the different markets. And even that evolution was a necessary step along the way, right? So I do feel that we're well prepared. We have the right mix of suppliers and in-house talent. And now over time, you may see slightly more be invested with innovative suppliers who make this their core business. And we are, at the end of the day, a pharma manufacturer. And then we'll take in things where we're like, we understand this is now mature. We don't see this changing in the next 5 to 7 years. So we may want to capture some of that value ourselves and just really be focused and do that work in source. But I also think that the way the technology is changing so fast, that by having partners who are really in that innovative space, and I'll say your company is one of them, they take that risk around innovation, right? And then we benefit from the experience you guys bring to us and apply it again to our solutions, which are, primarily focused around how our products can help patients live happier lives. So I see the mix remaining of being in flow, but constantly being supplier and insourced, onshore, offshore, and the ratios may change, but I think that will always be there. And then again, where we are in the technology right now, I feel like foundationally, cloud-based, multi-platform support, all connected, is that enabling step where what the innovation is, be it AI, ML, or even non-AI, more traditional software, is going to allow us to do things faster. And again, create the solutions that our customers are expressing to us that they need in order to use our products effectively and safely.
And yeah, one thing I really heard loud and clear today is the companies that build foundations with a vision for the future are the ones that really are making progress and showing tangible impact, along with evolving the business model around finding the balance between scale and efficiency and standardization, as well as agile operations, right? So certainly exciting. And by the way, for the audience, I did weave some of the questions that came throughout the talk into the question. I thank my panel for rolling with the punches there a little bit and getting some unprepared questions into the mix, but I was relying on your expertise, and of course you delivered. Again, thank you. This was really good. I could probably have another full panel or two based on some of the points that were raised here. It's always a pleasure to have the privilege to speaking with you. Thank you again. And I want to invite the audience to keep sending us questions. We will build on those. And do please listen into our other exciting panels that are coming up throughout the rest of the day and tomorrow. And we hope to see you all soon. My three panelists here for sure, and the audience as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Pleasure.
Bye-bye.